Hello, welcome once again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Molero.
And we are
the FAIRtax Guys.
And as you can see, Ron's suspension from Big Daddy Studios has been lifted. You are back in the good graces of the Poobahs over here, and they will let you back in to do your show live. Hope you had fun in New York.
I'm Bach.
What?
Yeah, we had a great time in New York. One granddaughter graduated, the other one enlisted in the Navy, and I'm going to take this little opportunity that makes 3 generations of Moleros in the Navy. And I'm very proud of that.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, as always, let's encourage folks to get a hold of us, the FAIRtax Guys at gmail.com. The FAIRtax Guys at gmail.com is our email address. We have a Facebook page, and you can like us and leave us comments. And when we're on live, we will be answering those questions as well.
Yep, we're looking forward to that. Yep.
And I'm going to remember first things first here, my props.
Oh, yes.
Which I got to remember that the folks that are listening on the audio-only versions of FAIRtax Power Radio can't see what I'm doing here, so let me describe. I have got a big 9x9 Rubik's Cube that is totally scrambled up as it can be. And this represents the income tax. It is complicated. Very few people can figure it out, and it is a mutt mess. And when they try to mess with it in Congress, they just kind of turn one little piece of it, and it's still just as messed up as it ever was. That is the income tax.
Yep.
My 8x8 Rubik's Cube, slightly less scrambled, but still has the potential to become as big a mutt mess as that one is.
Sure.
That is the flat tax that the politicians are trying to sell you as the best solution to everything. And this little 2x2 that is totally solved, that is the FAIRtax. Simple, easy, anybody can do that one. So there's your visual for those of you who are on the visual medium here. Can see the income tax, the flat tax, and the. We got to figure out a way to get that on the radio.
That's going to be a bit of a challenge.
Hold it up to the microphone so folks on Spreaker can see. Again, we remind everybody that we are on the FAIRtax official page. We're also at excluded.tv. We are most pleased to be associated with excluded.tv. And to say, I finally figured out what that meant. That means this is content that most of your big major folks will exclude from their platform.
Yeah,
so if you want to see the stuff that the other places that we will not pull by name, but you know who they are. They are censoring certain political views on their content. And so all of those things that are been excluded from the other ones you will find on excluded.tv. Very minimal, $30 a year subscription fee for it. Well worth it. We suggest you go do it. Lots of good shows. The FAIRtax Guys here, of course, plus some other really good stuff as well.
Yep. And we want to thank Big Daddy Studios for this opportunity. Tony McKnight invited us to do this, and we've got all these guys, Gabe and Christian and so forth, that are working with us, making this work. We're very, very grateful to these folks for this opportunity to get the word out about the FAIRtax, because we need to get this done, folks. We need to get this FAIRtax. What happened in December, what the president signed in December, was not tax reform. I know that's what they said, but Bob and I don't agree. It was tax relief. Now, it's had a positive effect. No question about it. It's had a positive effect. But I'm looking at congress.gov right now on my computer. And let me put on my computer glasses. And at this point, there are 1,441 proposals to change the tax code in the 115th Congress. That means from January of last year.
About a year and a half's worth.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, Congress has submitted, the different people in Congress have submitted over 1,400 proposals to change the tax code.
And the Congress has been in session, even if you counted every day, like 500 days. So that's more than average, more of 2 changes a day.
It's
being
crazy.
Proposed to the tax code.
Yeah.
And folks they're getting away with it because folks aren't watching.
Yeah, so it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So anyways.
So we need to get rid of the entire system that lets that happen and lets the Congress critters sell, tax favors to lobbyists in exchange for campaign cash. That's why we're not getting the FAIRtax, because we've got too many swamp creatures that realize that that's going to give them a problem in their income stream.
But you know what? There's more of us than there are of them. So everything that you can do to help us spread the word, let people know about FAIRtax Power Radio. This will become a podcast. You'll be able to download it from Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Put it on your smartphone, tablet, whatever. Play it in the car while you're driving along and so forth. Let other people know about FAIRtax Power Radio, because this is how we're going to get more people involved. Because when people learn about the FAIRtax, as we always say at the end of the show, when you truly understand it, you will demand it because it's just that good. And it's that good because it's that simple.
Okay, let's get cranking today on what we need to talk about, and it's a bit of a continuation of the theme that we had last week.
Mm-hmm.
The FAIRtax we talk about, it is such a wonderful plant, but it does have its flaws. Its biggest flaw is that it is so easy to demagogue.
Yeah.
And with the election season fixing to kick into high gear here before too much longer, unfortunately, there are not as many candidates running on the FAIRtax as we would like to see. I'm keeping my eye on that guy in Massachusetts that's doing that. Anyway, there are going to be, and I have seen in past campaigns, lots of misinformation about the FAIRtax in political ads, lots of misinformation about the FAIRtax just in political discussions, and some of it, is honest ignorance. They just don't know. But some of it is intentional deception.
Yeah. And that's a nice way of putting it, Bob.
Yeah, I'm being nice today.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But we're going to touch on something that we saw. I'm not sure if this is still going on, but I know it was going on at one time. Someone going around here, Central Florida, where we are, giving a presentation called The Flaws of the FAIRtax. Mm-hmm. Come to find out, the guy that was doing that was a lobbyist, but he didn't tell you, But I say the FAIRtax can be easily demagogued. It's going to increase the price of everything you buy by 23%. It's going to kill the poor and all that kind of stuff. But it's interesting, Ron, that when people try to make an argument against the FAIRtax, very few of them actually make their case against the FAIRtax as written. They have to twist and turn and try to turn the FAIRtax into something that it's not before they can make an argument against it.
Yep.
And that's kind of what this guy was doing.
Yeah, we a little bit of history. My wife and this was, believe it or not, this was 7 years ago.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like it was that long, but I dated it.
So even if this particular presentation is still kind of off the table here, there are still going to be folks out there doing this with the FAIRtax.
But anyways, my wife and I were lucky enough to see this guy's presentation twice, and so
I thought Elaine was going to jump out of her skin.
Elaine gets very passionate about this, so she was not happy when this guy was demagoguing this and twisting the facts and using straw man arguments and so forth. She was very unhappy. I had to kind of, calm down, hon. We'll have our chance. And we have had our chance because she's a very good note taker. And so she and I and one of the other volunteers who was at the first presentation and Bob attended the second one and so forth, we sat down and we wrote a compendium of all the complaints, you might say, he was saying. We use this for educational purposes. It's a great foil to use to educate people about what people might say about the FAIRtax if they're confused, or if they're purposely trying to sabotage the FAIRtax because it's going to hurt their little own part of the world. Like if you're a lobbyist, lobbyists might not like the FAIRtax because there's nothing to lobby.
Let me throw some stuff at you here and see if you can hit it out of the park, okay? Some of the points that this gentleman was making, FICA, the payroll tax that supports Social Security, he was trying to make the case that that's not really a tax. It's payment on an insurance policy. Yeah. And the point he was trying to make on this was if the FAIRtax removes the payroll taxes, which it does, and removes FICA, then every individual will need to replace this at his or her own expense.
That's
wonderful.
All right, if it's a policy...
Now don't bang on the table. It makes the mic
sorry. If it's a policy, show me your policy number.
Yes.
Okay? Where's the policy number? Now, FICA is not, it's been in the Supreme Court several times, all the way up to the Supreme Court. FICA is a tax, all right? It is a tax, and that's the way Roosevelt presented it to the courts back in the 30s, and the court said, yes, it is a tax, and Congress has the authority to impose a tax. And there is no requirement, none whatsoever, for Congress to actually pay out the Social Security and Medicare. They do it because they don't want a revolution on their hands, all right? People have gotten used to that. But FICA is not, Social Security and Medicare is not an insurance policy. And the other thing is that we're going to remove those things from the payroll taxes because with the FAIRtax, there will be no payroll tax deductions. The income tax, withholding will go away, FICA will go away, but that doesn't mean that we're going to suspend the program, Social Security and Medicare. Far be it from that. Actually, the opposite. It is written into the bill and the bill is only 133 pages long, that a certain percentage of the proceeds of the FAIRtax must go to Social Security and Medicare. So what does that mean? Instead of people...
That means that the tax base for supporting those programs expands from just people working for a paycheck to everybody whose spending exceeds the poverty level for their household size. It puts it on a much broader, much firmer financial footing. And they tend to not to tell you that. They try to tell you, well, the FAIRtax is going to make that payroll tax go away, therefore the program cannot survive, which is not true at all.
It was interesting too, Bob, that his partner, the guy who was making these, he had a partner with him, and he did the Social Security and FICA thing. He just happened to be an insurance guy.
So we got a lobbyist and an insurance agent. Can you say folks with a vested interest in keeping the same system are trying to sell this to you?
Yeah, just coincidental. I'm sure that had nothing to do with their,
Yeah, let's move on here. We got a lot of points to cover. The FAIRtax rate is not 23% like your FAIRtaxers say it is. It is 30%, and it's going to add that much to the cost of everything you buy.
Yeah, well, okay. First off, he's ignoring the embedded costs of every product and service that's offered, produced in this country. All right, there are embedded costs due to the income tax on the average of 22%, and most of that is going to go away because the income tax is going to go away.
Because the income tax is a cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And the compliance costs associated with it. Cost of doing business. The cost of doing business under the FAIRtax will be much lower.
Yeah, and for many companies, the cost of complying with the income tax is even worse than the tax itself. So a lot of that is going to be reduced. Secondly, it's the thing about 23 or 30%. Okay, income tax right now, if you get a job somewhere and you agree with your new employer that you're going to get a $50,000 a year salary, are you going to take home $50,000?
No, we're close.
No, that figure includes the income tax you'll be paying. So you're going to take home, I don't know if you're in the 25% bracket, like 37 something, We all know that. The income tax is included in your salary. Well, the same thing with the FAIRtax. The FAIRtax will be included in the price of the product. You go to the store and buy a coffee maker for $100. It's actually $77 for the coffee maker and $23 for the FAIRtax. All right. Well, if you look at that in an excluded way, all right, exclusive way.
If you're adding $23 worth of tax to a $77 item, that's 30%. That's how they get it. But if you consider the $23 in FAIRtax on that $100 item as a percentage of the 100, then it's a 23% rate inclusive. And that's another point that people worry about. They say they're used to sales taxes being tacked on at the register after the fact. So your $100 coffee maker becomes $108 if you've got an 8% sales tax. That is not going to happen with the FAIRtax. Again, the FAIRtax is included in that $100 price tag.
That's right. And but they use that 30%. So, if he's thinking exclusive, it is 30%. Or 23% inclusive. The important point is, what's the dollar figure difference? There isn't one, all right? It's going to be a $23 tax no matter what you call it, all right? So it's an argument for the sake of arguing because it doesn't mean anything.
All right, here we go. The embedded costs you talked about due to the current tax code, they are going to remain because those greedy, evil corporations will not lower their prices.
That's right.
They will pocket the difference.
Yeah, what did we see last December, since last December? Those greedy, evil corporations that are saving all kinds of tax money, they're just stuffing it in some giant corporate mattress, aren't they? No, not really.
I don't think so.
No, they're giving bonuses. I don't know how many thousands of corporations are giving bonuses and raises and so forth. Apple has announced they're building a new facility here in this country. They're bringing money that was offshore that they were keeping offshore because they had a huge tax on it if they brought it back to this country. That repatriation tax has dropped, and so they're bringing a whole bunch of money. All the stuff that people were saying, that particular argument there has been blown out the door because it's absolutely not true. Businesses will do what they do best, and that's try to grow their company. make more of what they're making or provide a better or an additional service. And to do that, they have to have people. They have to have employees, which means they hire more people. You know, right now, the problem in this country is we don't have enough people to fill all the jobs.
Of course, the name of the game in business is to expand market share.
Yeah.
You know, if you're an airline, you want people flying on your airplanes, not the other guy's airplanes. And the way you do that is if your cost of business goes down, you lower your fare to attract more folks. We have seen that. So time and time again, the competitive pressures of the free marketplace are not going to let the corporations just keep everything and add the fair tax on top of it. Not going to happen.
So that argument is gone. All right, that's just fallacy or folly.
Yeah, another point he was making was that the way it is written, the Congress will have the ability to pass have an income tax and the fair tax at least until the 16th Amendment is repealed, a process that could take up to 7 years. So he's trying to sell the idea that the fair tax will be imposed on top of an income tax, which is not true because the fair tax bill, most of that 133 pages in the fair tax bill refers to current code that will be repealed.
That's right.
So when the fair tax passes, the statutory authority to collect an income tax goes away. Now, until the 16th Amendment goes away, it is possible that the Congress could reinstate that and have both, but I guarantee you they ain't going to get away with that.
And I brought that up to him. I said, so you mean that when the Congress passes this and they rescind the code and the president signs it, they're going to turn around and pass a new income tax bill again right away? And that's what he was intimating.
And you should see the deer in the headlights look you got if folks could see that.
So it doesn't make sense. But like Bob says, when the president signs the fair tax bill and that becomes a law, the code, the IRS code is gone. It's out the window. The IRS will be allowed to finish up whatever they're currently working on. They have about 3 years to finish up whatever they're working on, and then they're gone, okay? So, no, that's not going to happen.
Yes, but again, the fair tax has that sunset provision. If the amendment is not, the 16th Amendment is not repealed, then the fair tax will sunset because we want to make sure that there is no sales tax or consumption tax on top of an income tax. And when the 16th Amendment is repealed, the income tax will become unconstitutional. The Supreme Court ruled on that in the late 1800s. That's why they had to pass the 16th Amendment in 1913 to make it work.
Yep.
So you get rid of that 16th Amendment and an income tax becomes unconstitutional. And it's going to be really tough to get that back.
And remember, the way the Constitution was originally written and adopted back in 1789. Thank you. It was formally adopted in 1789. There was no allowance for an income tax. The framers of the Constitution abhorred the idea of an income tax. They purposely wrote the Constitution so it would not be possible. And then 120-something years later, we decided to put an income tax in there. Not a good idea.
Oh, mercy. Here's another point that was really cool. Of course, the consumption tax, like the fair tax, will be collected by the vendors, who sell you the products and services. And he was saying that if the vendor, for example, a lawn maintenance guy, he collected the fair tax from you, but did not remit it back to the state authority that collects it, that the state is going to come after you. How are they going to do that when they don't know who you are?
Yeah, just my headset here because it's fallen off. Anyway, does that happen now? We have 45 of the 50 states have a sales tax. Do you ever hear of the state sales tax authority showing up at somebody's door and saying, "We want proof that you paid the sales tax on those pair of jeans you bought last week"? It doesn't happen.
Well, we have people not paying the state sales taxes when they buy things online now. And there are lots of online purchases for which a state sales tax is not collected. And I have not heard of a single person being, pursued by the collection agency to pay the sales tax on those kind of purchases. So we've already seen that they will not come after the individual purchaser. No. If the fair tax is being evaded and not remitted, they're going after the vendor that collected it.
That's right.
Not the individual.
Right. Yeah. And that thing about the internet, that brings up another whole issue, which I think we'll tackle in another episode, because that's a pretty thorny issue. And it also speaks to the idea that things are changing every day. I mean, 20 years ago, how much online sales were there?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. Now there's a lot.
But yes, the FAIRtax will be collected on online sales because that is
it has to be
national in scope. But
Yep.
it has to be. Did you notice that during this presentation that the gentleman kindly skirted around the prebate?
Both occasions that we attended, my wife said, "What about the prebate?" And he said, "I'll talk about that later." And he managed to get out the door without
never
talking
got around
about the
to
prebate.
doing that.
Yeah. So he didn't want to acknowledge the prebate, which is the key to fairness with the FAIRtax. All right. The prebate makes sure that every household in America is reimbursed for the FAIRtax that they will pay on the basic necessities of life, because nobody should have to pay taxes on what it costs to stay alive. It's that simple. All right. And the prebate makes sure that and doesn't make any difference what your income level, what your status is in the social club or anything. Every legal household will get the prebate. And they do that simply by letting the government know how many people in the household and what their Social Security numbers are. That's all they have to do. Nothing about income, nothing else. It's that simple. All right. And so he didn't want to acknowledge the prebate, because the prebate is very, very important. It is the key to fairness in the FAIRtax.
Absolutely. He was saying that the FAIRtax would also favor the upper income levels by letting them pay a lower percentage of their income. Now, that is just plain out mathematically impossible.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you let's say a family of four. I got my prebate card. Now, Christian moved my prebate card. Okay. I'm going to blame it on the producer here. Anyways, if you're a family of four, according to the prebate schedule for 2018, all right, a family of four, Health and Human Services, that a family of four, mom and dad and 2 kids, all right, requires $32,920 just to get by, all right? Food, clothing, shelter, basic Medicare, stuff like that, okay? So if the FAIRtax were in effect right now, well, yeah, they got to buy groceries and they got to either pay the rent or pay the mortgage or something like that, buy a house or something, and put clothes on their back and so forth. And yes, when they go to the store or when they buy a house or pay rent in an apartment, yes, the FAIRtax will be included. But they will also be reimbursed for the FAIRtax on that $32,920. And the reimbursement will amount to $7,572, which they'll get every month as an automatic prebate. They call it a prebate because it's going to come at the beginning of the month. That family of four is going to get $631, all right? That makes sure that they are reimbursed for the FAIRtax they will be paying on the basic necessities of life. Very, very important. Now, what family of four, especially if they're only earning $32,000 a year, what family of four wouldn't want $631 a month?
I don't know. That makes no sense. But the deal is that if your spending is at that level, if that's all you've got in disposable income, then the FAIRtax you pay out of your pocket at the cash register is given back to you in your prebate. Your out-of-pocket tax rate is 0.
Yeah.
And once your spending rises above the poverty level, that's when you start taking money out of your pocket to pay the FAIRtax, because you're paying more FAIRtax now than you get in prebate. And tell me how you can spend more and more and more and still pay a lower out-of-pocket tax rate when somebody's out-of-pocket tax rate at the poverty level is 0.
Yeah.
That just does not happen.
Let's take that family, the same family, and they get a raise. Instead of earning just enough to get by, let's say that they really got into a good position. Now they're earning, the family income is $100,000 a year. Okay? Mm-hmm. Same prebate. Same exact prebate, because it's still the same family of four.
Yeah.
But now they've got extra disposable cash.
And now they're paying the FAIRtax out of their pocket when they're spending that money.
Yeah.
And one more thing real quick, the point that tries to make, it's going to add 23% to the cost of everything you buy.
No, not
Prices
really.
are not going to go up by 23% under the FAIRtax. The research that we've got says they will probably go up 5-10%, maybe at the most.
Yeah.
But you will have your whole paycheck, no withholding under the FAIRtax, and you'll be getting the prebate. So even if the retail prices do rise above current levels by 5 or 10%, you're going to have a lot more than 5 or 10% more money in your pocket. Your purchasing power goes up dramatically under the FAIRtax.
Yeah, and if you're one that wants to get into the weeds of the numbers, You can go to FAIRtax.org. All the white papers are there. A lot of that research was done by our own Dr. Karen Walby here in Florida. She is the director of research for the national group and for the Florida group, and we're very happy to have her here in Florida.
As you notice, I bring my visual props, my Rubik's Cubes to represent the FAIRtax and the income tax and the flat tax. You actually have some props today of your own. We got about 4.5 minutes left. Let's see what you got over there.
FAIRtaxLogoStore.org. FAIRtaxLogoStore.org. You can order one of these, all right, and take that to a town hall.
Yeah.
And ask your representative, how about this? Why aren't you co-sponsoring this? Okay.
There you go.
That will get their attention. Now, you can also get a little device like this. All right? After this show, you will not remember anything, but the FAIRtax will be in effect.
That looks like a blue light on our monitor there. You think you can pull somebody over and talk to them about the FAIRtax?
These are not the droids you're looking for.
No.
Okay. Pens. All right. And I had a great suggestion from somebody yesterday who was a FAIRtax fan. All right. Get a bunch of pens, and when you go to a restaurant, restaurants are always looking for pens. All right. Leave your FAIRtax pen. All right. That's a good way of getting the message out. These prebate cards that I was reading off of, these are one of the hottest items. You can order these things and use them to talk to your friends about it, along with the pocket cards or palm cards, all right, FAIRtax palm cards. These are great items. And there's a story behind this one, but actually we talked about that last week. Pins. My wife wears these things all the time. I mean, I've got a hat, the shirt on with the logo and so forth, but she's got these strapped to the pin to the strap of her purse. She's always wearing them. It's a great way. So there are lots of, this doesn't show up too well, but it is a travel mug with the FAIRtax logo on the front. All right. Lots of things. Oh, boy. That really resonates, doesn't it? Sorry about that.
Easy.
But, yeah, I got to get used to this new video and TV stuff. But FAIRtaxLogoStore.org, get some of this stuff and show your support for the FAIRtax. It really will help.
Okay. Again, we encourage folks to write us at thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. Like us, leave us comments on our Facebook page. And I say we love folks to respond to the FAIRtax. We've gotten a lot of good response from there.
Yep.
So we encourage folks to do that. We got about 2 minutes left. Go.
Gotten some great ideas for future shows too. All right. Remember excluded.tv. You can if you don't want to deal with Facebook and so forth, go to Excluded and get a membership there. It's $30 a year. $30 a year, and you can see us and other shows, Hank Strange and so forth, from Excluded. Great stuff there. There is a social media site that is just for FAIRtax people. It's kind of like a Facebook-like environment, but it's just for FAIRtax people, and it is member.fairtax.org. Member.fairtax.org. We encourage you to go there and become a member. It might cost you $5 to get in, but we want you to add your voice to those folks. And I get on there occasionally. I don't get on as much as I should, but I try. And I upload stuff about FAIRtax Power Radio. I might put another graphic on there and so forth. There's lots of people, and this is a good way for people across the country to collude, you might say, and see what works. What things work and what don't. And then I already mentioned FAIRtax.org, okay, and BigSolution.org.
Indeed. Check that out. I'll tell you what, we're just about out of time here for this episode of FAIRtax Power Radio. We will invite you to share these videos with your friends, tell folks about them. And until then, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
The FAIRtax Guys reminding you, as we always do, that the FAIRtax is America's big solution. And once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
These income tax forms are way too complicated. There's got to be a better way. Who are you?
We're the FAIRtax Guys.
We've got a big solution for you.
What's that?
It's the FAIRtax. Completely eliminates the federal income tax system as we know it. No more withholding, no more payroll taxes, No more tax returns ever. No more IRS. All gone. And I guarantee you, once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Yeah.
We got to get